You're watching Forsaken Joe. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Enjoy the story. Let's begin.
I knew something was off the moment she walked in the door wearing heels and perfume on a damn Tuesday night. But that came later. Back in the beginning, it was different. I met Brianna at Central Tech down in Fort Worth. She was in interior design. I was in custom home contracting. We sat next to each other in a project management class, and I still remember the way she took notes in different colored pens, all organized like it actually mattered. I cracked a joke about her rainbow highlighters, and she rolled her eyes but smiled anyway. That was it. My name's Derek. I'm 32 years old and live in Arlington, Texas. I build homes, real ones. Wood, drywall, concrete. Back then, we were broke as hell, but we had this fire between us. We'd work side jobs all day. She'd help stage open houses. I'd do demo or frame walls, then crash at my tiny one-bedroom and dream about the company we were going to start. She'd lie on my chest and say, "You'll build the bones, I'll bring the beauty." We called it Dream Build. I even sketched a logo once on the back of a diner napkin. Dumb, maybe, but it meant something. For the first few years, we were a team. We'd walk through rundown houses on weekends, pointing out where we'd open walls or add skylights. Sometimes we couldn't even afford gas, but we still made it work. Beans, rice, whatever. We were in it together. Quick note, before listening, share which city or country you're watching from. But slowly, stuff started shifting. She'd get home late. Said she was meeting new clients, doing walkthroughs, prepping for bigger projects. At first, I believed her. I wanted to believe her. But the late-night strategy sessions turned into full weekends out. She started dressing like she was going on dates, not job sites. Heels, tight skirts, new makeup. Her phone buzzed nonstop. She stopped asking about my day. We stopped cooking together, stopped watching our dumb renovation shows. One night, I realized we hadn't eaten at the same table in over 2 weeks. I'd be on the couch scrolling through paint samples for a build, and she'd breeze by, tapping away on her phone, laughing at some inside joke I wasn't part of. I asked her once, "Who's so funny lately?" She waved it off. "Just work people. You wouldn't know them." That hit different. We had a plan, a business, a life. Now it felt like I was just a roommate watching her turn into someone I didn't recognize. I didn't know it yet, but that woman I fell in love with, the one with the color-coded notes and big dreams, she was already gone. She just hadn't told me. So when she invited me to her firm's summer mixer, I said yes without even thinking. Not because I wanted to dress up and schmooze with designers and developers, but because I needed to see it with my own eyes, whatever it was. The place was ridiculous. Some rooftop bar downtown, top floor of this glass and steel tower with a view of the skyline and overpriced cocktails in tiny glasses. I showed up in slacks and a button-up, cleaned up, but not flashy. Everyone else looked like they were auditioning for a Netflix show about rich 20-somethings in real estate. Brianna was already there, holding a martini and laughing like she didn't have a care in the world. I watched her for a minute before walking over. She wasn't just confident, she was performing. Hair blown out, dress tight, lips red like she'd painted them with a razor blade. "Hey, you made it," she said, like she was surprised. "Yeah," I replied. Didn't want to miss the famous summer mixer. She barely touched my arm. No kiss. No real smile. Just turned back to her group and introduced me like I was her contractor, not her partner. "This is Derek. He does builds." Like I was the guy who patched drywall. One of the guys nodded and said, "Cool," before diving back into some story about a gallery opening in Bishop Arts. I stood there, sipping whatever drink she handed me, until I saw him. Tall, tan, blazer over a t-shirt like he was too cool for collars. Talking with his hands like he was pitching a damn movie. He leaned in close when people talked, laughed like he owned the room. I turned to the guy next to me, some junior associate or assistant or whatever. "Who's that?" I asked, nodding toward the slick dude. "Oh, that's Chase. He and Brianna work together all the time. Big talent. They're kind of a package deal lately." A package deal. I clenched my jaw and nodded like it didn't bother me. But it did. Brianna walked over to him, and it was like flipping a switch. She lit up. Not like she used to around me. This was something else. Flirty. Touchy. Too comfortable. She laughed and touched his arm. He leaned in and said something that made her cover her mouth and giggle. Then he slid his hand onto the small of her back. Not a joke touch. Not a friend thing. That was his woman now, and he knew it. He said something and guided her away from the group, toward the back of the rooftop. She gave me a quick wave like it was no big deal. "They're just talking business," someone said beside me. "Yeah, business." In the dark corner of a rooftop bar. I stayed another 40 minutes, made small talk with a guy from zoning and a woman who ran marketing. I couldn't even fake a smile. I left without saying goodbye. That night, she came home like nothing happened, kicked off her heels, dropped her bag on the floor, and poured herself a glass of red wine. "Wasn't that a cool venue?" she asked, spinning around like she was still riding the high. "I swear, Chase knows all the best rooftops. He's got amazing taste." She said his name again, like I hadn't just watched her lean into him with that same smile she used to give me. "He's so sharp," she went on, settling onto the couch. "We bounce ideas off each other constantly. Honestly, I've never met someone more in sync with my creative style." She kept going, talking about his startup ideas, how they might pitch something to a developer friend in Austin, how he helped her rework a design layout that wasn't quite landing, like he was her new muse or something. And I just sat there, staring at the wall behind her, trying to remember the last time she'd talked about us like that. Our plans, our company, our future. But there was no us in her voice anymore. Just Chase, the new partner, the new plan. And I knew right then, I wasn't just losing her. I'd already lost her. I didn't bring it up. The rooftop, the hands, the way she talked about Chase like she was already building a life with him. Instead, I leaned into what used to work. I figured maybe, if I reminded her of where we started, she'd remember what we had. So I made a plan. Our anniversary was coming up, 8 years. I booked a table at our old taco place off Henderson, the one where we used to split margaritas and argue over tile colors. I even called ahead to ask if they still made that spicy pineapple salsa she loved. Picked up flowers, too. Not store-bought roses. Real ones. From the same little market we used to go to on Saturdays when we were too broke for anything but fresh flowers and breakfast tacos. I left the reservation on the fridge with a note that said, 8 years. Same tacos. Don't be late. She didn't text. Didn't call. Nothing. I sat at the restaurant alone, checking my phone every 5 minutes like an idiot. At 9:15, I paid for my drink, boxed up the tacos, and drove home. The flowers were still in the sink, unopened. She walked through the door at 1 in the morning, hair frizzy from the humidity, heels in one hand, phone in the other. She smelled like wine, some kind of cologne I didn't recognize, and expensive lotion, not the stuff she used at home. "Oh my God," she said, "I'm so sorry." The client dinner ran long. It was one of those nights. She didn't even look guilty, just annoyed that I was still up. I didn't say anything. I just stood in the kitchen, staring at the takeout box on the counter like it was mocking me. "You could have texted," I said finally. I was swamped. My phone died halfway through dessert. "Right." She rolled her eyes and walked past me toward the bathroom. "Can we not do this right now? It's late, and I'm exhausted." I watched her go, but I didn't follow. Next morning, she came into the kitchen all cheerful, hair still damp from the shower, sipping iced coffee like nothing had happened. "Last night was wild," she said. "But Chase totally saved us. We were crashing on this layout pitch, and he just jumped in with this idea that blew everyone away." There it was again. Chase. Like he was some kind of genius godsend she couldn't stop orbiting. "Good for him," I muttered. She didn't hear me, or pretended not to. Just kept going about her morning, tapping her phone, packing her work bag, humming to herself. 8 years. I'd known every version of this woman. Broke and hopeful, tired and driven, soft and laughing under our shared blanket in winter. But whatever version this was someone else entirely. And I realized it right there, while she applied lip gloss in the microwave reflection. I wasn't waiting on her to come back to me. I was watching her leave in slow motion. She left that morning like she always did. Heels clicking, coffee in hand, not a glance back. I stayed in the kitchen, staring at her untouched flowers in the trash. That's when something cracked. I stopped waiting. I started watching. It wasn't just late nights and skipped dinners anymore. It was the little things. New clothes, Real designer stuff, not her usual Target blazers. Lingerie tags in the hamper with price tags still on them. Her phone, which used to sit face up on the counter, was now always locked, face down, silent. She started laughing in bed. Like, full-on laughing. I'd be half asleep and hear her giggle next to me, thumbs tapping away under the covers. "You working?" I asked one night. She didn't even look up, just answering emails. At midnight. Deadlines don't care what time it is. Then she rolled over and kept typing. I wanted to believe her, but even that hope was running out. The worst part wasn't even the lying. It was the way she moved around the house like I wasn't there. I'd be making coffee, and she'd brush past me like I was the damn fridge. No eye contact. No hey. Just silence. I felt like a ghost in my own place. One night, I sat in the garage with the door cracked and just stared at the floor for 20 minutes. Not thinking, not moving, just trying to feel anything that still made sense. That's when I called Luis. He's my cousin, bit of a tech guy, works freelance security installs for offices and warehouses, sometimes homes. He also does digital audits for businesses when they think employees are stealing or leaking contracts. I didn't even sugarcoat it when he picked up. "Hey man," I said, "you still do that security trace stuff?" Luis didn't hesitate. "Who are we watching?" I gave him everything. Her car model, phone habits, work hours, email domains. I didn't care how it sounded. I needed the truth. "You think she's cheating?" he asked. "I know she's cheating. I just don't know how deep it goes." Luis was quiet for a beat. "Okay, I'll set you up. Nothing crazy. GPS tracker, basic data log, and a few shadow sweeps to see what she's really doing with that phone. I don't need dirt for court," I told him. "I just want to know what the hell's going on." He said he'd swing by Saturday. That weekend, I helped him install a GPS tag under her back bumper. Took maybe 5 minutes. He had a signal running through his tablet before we even left the driveway. "Give it 2 weeks," he said, packing up. "If she's hiding something, we'll find it." I didn't feel good about it, but I didn't feel guilty either. Because when someone keeps telling you everything's fine, while they erase who they used to be and make you feel like a stranger in your own bed, you stop asking for answers. You start digging for them. 2 weeks later, Luis called me at 9:30 on a Tuesday night. "Got something," he said. "You free?" I was already grabbing my keys. He had everything laid out on his kitchen table, laptop open, manila folders, printed screenshots. He didn't say a word, just turned the screen toward me. First tab was GPS data. "She's been going to a condo in Midtown every Saturday and Sunday for the past 6 weeks, Luis said. "Same building, same unit, sometimes overnight." He clicked through timestamps. Brianna's car, parked in the same underground garage, arriving late morning and not leaving till the next day. Second tab, credit card charges. "Shared account," he said. "You're still paying off the Amex." She just changed the delivery address for statements to her office. There were dinner charges to high-end wine bars, boutique hotel stays, one damn candle store with a $100 tab. I knew those places. They weren't client meetings. They were dates. Luis tapped the folder. That's the real kicker. Inside were printed photos. Nothing creepy, nothing illegal. Just open-source stuff pulled from social media, showroom feeds, vendor pages. One was of Brianna and Chase walking through a tile showroom, heads close together, arms linked. Another showed them holding hands at the Bishop Arts flea market. Same one she and I used to go to. Same rug vendor, same stupid donut stand in the background. The last photo hit like a gut punch. Them entering the Midtown condo lobby, both carrying grocery bags. Like they were just getting back from their Saturday. I leaned back in the chair. Couldn't speak. My face was burning, but my hands were ice cold. Luis waited, then dropped the final file in front of me. It was a scanned copy of a lease agreement. Midtown Tower Apartments. Unit 17B. 5-month lease. Tenant names, Brianna R. and Chase M. My throat locked up. "She's not cheating," I said, voice flat. "She's moved in." Luis nodded once. "Living a whole second life, man." He wasn't done. "I also did a dig on her firm's internal project folders," he said. "Not deep, just scan metadata and project history. Look at this." He showed me 2 side-by-sides. Design mock-ups. One was a high-end kitchen concept she presented at her last firm retreat. The other was nearly identical and watermarked with Chase's name from an older portfolio on his website. She hadn't even changed the layout. "She's passing off his designs as her own," Luis said. "At least 5 of them. Might be more." Then came the real hammer drop. Luis pulled up a PDF of exported chat logs. Her firm used a cloud-based platform for internal messaging. These weren't personal messages, but team threads and project notes she hadn't cleaned out. Buried in there were 2 lines. "We'll take the vendor list with us. Half those clients only work with us anyway. Give it another month, then we go full pitch mode. Just you and me, design build. No one else. They were planning their own company. They weren't just sneaking around. They were stealing. Clients, assets, designs. All under the nose of the firm that gave them both their start. I stared at the screen and felt something shift in me. All the doubt, all the self-blame, all the wondering if I was crazy for feeling what I felt. It burned off like morning fog. She hadn't just betrayed me. She replaced me. At home. At work. In every way. And she thought I'd never find out. Louise sat across from me, quiet. What do you want to do? I looked at the photos again. Her smiling, Chase's arm around her, like they built all this from nothing. Like I never existed. I want her to lose everything she built on my back, I said. And I meant every word. I didn't sleep that night. I just sat at the table, flipping through the photos again, one after another, until the sun came up. By morning, I knew exactly what I had to do. Chase had a wife. Her name was Danielle. I remembered it from one of those boring firm mixers Brianna used to drag me to. Danielle had shown up once with him, all quiet and polite in a white blouse and heels too high for the parking lot. I figured she was just some pretty tag-along back then. Turns out, she was part of a real estate firm that did staging contracts with some of my vendors. I made one call, told a guy I trusted I needed to get in touch with her. No drama, just a conversation. She texted me herself 2 hours later. We met the next morning at a coffee shop near the design district. Neutral ground. Public. Quiet. I showed up early and grabbed a table in the back corner. She walked in 5 minutes late, sleek ponytail, navy dress, giant iced coffee in one hand. She looked like someone who kept it together for a living. Derek? She asked. I stood up. Yeah, thanks for meeting me. She sat across from me, straight-backed, calm, guarded. I don't usually respond to stuff like this, she said, pulling the straw from her drink. But you said it was about Chase, and not business. I nodded, pulled the manila envelope from my backpack, and slid it across the table. You should see this. She opened it, flipped through 3 photos, and froze on the 4th. Brianna and Chase holding hands at the flea market. Her face didn't change at first, just her breathing. Then she put the photo down, real slow, and looked at me. How long? 5 months, I said. They leased a condo together in Midtown. He's in every transaction. Credit card bills, hotel stays, dinners. They're not hiding it, just hiding it from us. Her hands shook. She gripped the edge of the table like it was the only thing keeping her upright. I thought maybe, she started, then stopped. He's been weird lately. Short-tempered. Always working late. But I never thought it was. She cut herself off and flipped the next photo. Then the lease copy. Oh my God, she whispered. That's our account. The joint one. That's where our savings went. Her eyes were glassy now, but her voice dropped, sharp and flat. I co-signed our mortgage. That prick drained half our emergency fund to play house with your girlfriend. I nodded slowly. They're planning to leave the firm and start their own agency, using stolen designs, client lists, Chase's work, Brianna's contacts. It's all in here. Danielle stared down at the folder. For a second I thought she'd cry, but then her face hardened. She closed the envelope and set her drink down like it offended her. So what now? She asked. I leaned forward. We don't go to them. Not privately. That gives them control. No tears, no fights, no please explain. We go public. She raised an eyebrow. There's a community showcase coming up, I said. Hosted by Brianna's firm. Big event. Press, donors, city reps. They'll be presenting their new flagship renovation. Together. Danielle looked at me. I could see the shift happening. Pain turning into purpose. I want their careers to bleed out in front of everyone, she said. I nodded. Then let's start planning. She took a sip of her coffee like it was fuel, then pulled her phone out. Send me every file you have. That was the moment it changed. We weren't two heartbroken spouses anymore. We were partners. Danielle didn't waste time. She left that coffee shop with the fire already lit, and by that night, we were building the plan. I made one call to a buddy of mine. Tanner used to run AV at event venues across Dallas before switching to commercial installs. Told him I needed a favor. Depends, he said. Is it for a wedding or a takedown? Takedown. He laughed. You're sick. I'll text you the layout. Brianna's firm was holding the showcase in a converted warehouse in Deep Ellum. Sleek place. Glass dividers, rented lighting rigs, giant screen behind the stage, Full tech setup with HDMI feeds and mic stations. Tanner still knew the system from a job he did there 6 months ago. He got me the full AV plan, where the control booth sat, how to access the main feed, what tech they'd be using for presentations. Luis was in my garage 2 days later with a backpack full of gear. "You sure you want to go through with this?" he asked, laying out the wires across my workbench. "They lied in public," I said. "They can answer for it in public." It wasn't just about catching them cheating. Not anymore. This was bigger. Contracts stolen, clients misled, a whole business built off 2 people pretending they hadn't already sold their souls. Luis walked me through the setup. Simple override box linked to the HDMI chain, something we'd used on job sites before when presentations glitched or needed hard resets. Only this time, the glitch would be a slideshow from hell. Danielle was locked in too. She pulled Chase's bank records, found wire transfers to accounts she didn't recognize. Dug deeper. That bastard had taken out a personal loan using her name as a co-signer, without her permission. "He's toast," she said, sending over PDFs and flagged emails. "We'll bury them with their own paperwork." We kept the files clean. Screenshots, timestamps, photos. Side-by-sides of Chase's original design drafts and the stolen final versions Brianna pitched as her own. Statements showing client poaching and the fake pitch decks they were preparing for their new venture. Luis helped build the slideshow, nothing fancy. Just slide after slide of the truth. We saved the final one for last. A screenshot of a Slack message from Brianna to Chase. "Can't wait to leave this place behind. Derek and Danielle won't see it coming." The night before the event, I stood in my garage and rehearsed my speech. It wasn't long. I didn't want long. I wanted loud. I wanted it clean, simple, and surgical, like the final swing of a hammer that brings the whole rotten frame down. I stared at the photo tacked on the wall. Me and Brianna, year 2. We were standing in front of a gutted craftsman we flipped together, both covered in dust, smiling like idiots. Back then, she wore paint-splattered jeans and called me her human blueprint. I looked at it for maybe 10 seconds. Didn't feel a damn thing. No sadness. No what-ifs. No pity. Just clarity. This wasn't revenge. This was demolition. And tomorrow, the whole room was going to hear the walls crack. The warehouse buzzed like a beehive. Dim lights. Exposed beams. Jazz playing from a side stage nobody was actually listening to. People sipped champagne from flutes they didn't pay for and circled faux model kitchens lit up like museum displays. Her firm had gone all out. Rentals, catering, even a glossy program handed out at the door. I walked in through the side entrance wearing a black button-up and the calm of a man who already knew how this would end. Tanner had already checked in from the AV booth. Luis was stationed at the rear wall with the override controller inside a plain laptop case. Danielle arrived 15 minutes after me, cool and steady in a gray blazer and heels that clicked like warning shots. She held the folder tight against her chest. At 7:30 sharp, the lights dimmed, and Brianna took the stage. She looked polished, poised, dressed like she wanted to land a magazine cover. Chase stood beside her, smug in a dark suit, hands folded, waiting for the praise to roll in. "Thank you all for being here," Brianna started, voice bright. "We're proud to present our firm's latest flagship renovation, a full home transformation rooted in modern textures, sustainable design, and community connection." They launched into it: floor plans, custom material selections, mood boards, digital walkthroughs. The crowd nodded. Clients whispered. Some woman in the front row actually clapped at a bathroom tile. Brianna pointed to the last slide. "This is what design should do: elevate lives, empower spaces, and challenge expectations." Perfect time. I stepped forward from the back. "Sorry," I said, voice raised but steady. "But before you wrap, there's one more presentation." People turned. The energy dipped. I walked straight to the stage, past the stunned faces of her coworkers, past the confused tech guy trying to figure out if this was scheduled. Luis gave the signal. 10 seconds. Brianna blinked. "Derek, what?" "I'll keep it brief," I said, taking the mic out of her hand like it belonged to me. Then the first slide hit. A photo of Brianna and Chase entering the Midtown condo. Gasps. Whispering. Cameras shifting. Slide 2. Hand-holding at the flea market. Slide 3. Credit card charges from hotels, wine bars, and shared home goods purchases. I kept my tone calm, almost bored. For the past 5 months, these two have been running a second life behind the firm's back, living together, staging fake client meetings, spending company hours building a new business using resources they stole. The screen flipped to a copied email thread, Chase discussing vendor outreach and Brianna attaching client lists from their firm's shared drive. More murmurs. A man in the second row stood up and took a photo of the screen. I let the next slides speak for themselves, matching designs between Chase's old portfolio and Brianna's current projects. Identical right down to lighting placement and finish color codes. Someone up front muttered, "Jesus Christ." Her senior partner, the older guy who used to shake my hand at holiday parties, got up, dropped his event badge on the chair, and walked out. Didn't say a word. Then the final slide. White background. Black text. "Can't wait to leave this place behind. Derek and Danielle won't see it coming." Silence. Until Danielle stepped up next to me and held up her folder. "My name's Danielle Morgan. I'm Chase's wife. I have proof he opened a loan in my name, stole from our savings, and funneled funds into a separate account to finance their new agency." She handed it off to the firm's legal counsel, who looked like he'd just swallowed a lit match. Chaos broke loose. Half the room stood. One woman clapped a hand over her mouth. A junior designer shouted, "Are you kidding me?" Brianna looked like she was trying to figure out whether to faint or scream. Chase just froze, jaw tight, face white, staring straight ahead like maybe if he didn't move, it would all go away. I handed the mic back to the AV guy. "Thanks for your time," I said into the crowd. "Enjoy the wine." I stepped off the stage, walked through the aisle, and didn't look back once. Not at her. Not at him. Not at the ashes of whatever that showcase was supposed to be. Just straight through the doors, calm, steady, free. By the time I got home that night, it had already started. One of Brianna's coworkers posted a video clip of the final slide. "Derek and Danielle won't see it coming," with the caption. Turns out they did. Comments were flooding in. Architects, interior designers, even a few vendors I used to work with. Nobody was defending her. By noon the next day, both Brianna and Chase were officially fired. No statement. No exit party. Just deleted bios on the firm's website and emails that stopped bouncing back. Danielle sent me a screenshot of the court summons Chase got hit with: fraud, identity theft, and something about breach of contract with her brokerage. She didn't waste time. Cleaned out their joint account, froze the credit line, and had a lawyer serve him at his brother's house in Plano. She texted me 2 words. "He's done." Brianna, though? She didn't face charges, but she might have had it worse. Nobody in the design scene would touch her. Word got around fast. Projects were pulled. Clients dropped. A staging company I knew said she tried pitching a collaboration the following week and got laughed out of the lobby. It was like watching someone hit delete on her whole career. I didn't hear from her. Not then. Not when it was fresh. And I didn't go looking. Instead, I did what I've always done. I got back to work. A few days after the gala, I started getting emails. Project managers, contractors, developers I hadn't talked to in years. Apparently, people noticed how I handled the whole thing. How clean the presentation was, how organized the receipts were, how steady I stayed in the middle of the chaos. One guy flew in from Austin just to shake my hand. 3 weeks later, I signed on to manage a new suburban housing development just outside Mansfield. Custom builds, mixed-use layouts, real budget. Biggest job I'd ever landed. The first thing I did was draft my own build for one of the model homes. Nothing flashy, 2-bed duplex, clean lines, modern kitchen, real wood floors. I kept the corner lot for myself. Oversaw every inch of it. 6 months later, I moved in. The first night I slept there, I didn't even bring a TV. Just a mattress on the floor, a 6-pack on the counter, and music playing off my phone. The air smelled like new wood and fresh drywall. It was mine. Every inch. Danielle and I stayed in touch through it all. We weren't trying to force anything. We didn't need to. It was just quiet, real connection. A couple texts here and there. A drink after one of her court hearings. She helped me pick out the light fixtures in my new place. Said the matte black pendants made the island pop. We didn't talk about them much after the fallout. Didn't need to. What was left to say? We both walked through the fire. Came out clean. She showed up at my site trailer on a Tuesday. No call. No warning. I was going over drywall estimates with my foreman when someone knocked on the open door. I turned, expecting a delivery guy or one of the inspectors. It was her. Hair unwashed, tucked behind her ears. No makeup. Plain hoodie. Jeans that didn't fit right. Her eyes looked dull, like something had burned out behind them and never came back. "Hey," she said, voice barely above a whisper. I nodded. Didn't invite her in. "Do you have a second?" I stepped outside and shut the trailer door behind me. She looked smaller than I remembered. Not physically, just hollow. She took a breath. I wanted to say I'm sorry. I waited. I was stupid. Arrogant. I thought I was building something new, but it was all bullshit. I see that now. Still, I said nothing. Her eyes welled up. I lost everything. Clients, friends, my name. You think people forget, but they don't. Not in this industry. She looked down at her hands. They were shaking. Chase left, she added, voice cracking. He said it was all my fault. That he only went along because I pushed it. He moved to Seattle. Changed numbers. Blocked me on everything. I didn't react. I ruined my life, she said. For someone who used me. I thought I owed you that. I thought maybe you could. She trailed off. I finally spoke. You didn't ruin your life for love, Brianna. She looked up, like she didn't expect me to speak at all. You ruined it for ego. She opened her mouth, like she wanted to argue, then shut it again. I'm not angry, I said. Not anymore. I moved on. You should, too. She swallowed hard. I don't know how. That's not my problem, I said calmly. She nodded, took one step back, then another. Goodbye, Derek. I watched her walk off the gravel lot. Head down, shoulders slumped. No hate left, just silence. That night, I was at my buddy Nate's place. Backyard barbecue, cold beers, folding chairs in the grass. Someone passed around ribs and cracked jokes about paint crews screwing up trim. I raised my bottle and looked around the table. Guys I'd worked with, built with, trusted. To rebuilding, I said. Everyone raised theirs. Brick by damn brick.